Welcome back, guys. So we are at a different angle today, and today I want to talk about Kadena Crypto, Kadena project. One of you guys mentioned in the comments. I read all the comments, guys. So if you think that you're not being heard, you are being heard. But one of you guys commented on doing a Kadena review, so I went ahead and read the white paper, and here are my thoughts on Kadena. If you guys grew up watching Naruto, which I did, then I really think that it is very similar. Or maybe when it comes to the Matrix, you know, the enemy, I think his name was Agent Smith, so he could duplicate himself, right? That is basically what Kadena is. It is a big replication of Bitcoins. And if that sounds kind of crazy to you, just hold on, make sure to watch you this entire video. But before you do so, before we get on to the next part, make sure you go ahead and demolish that like and subscribe button, because it is always better to tip your waiter before you actually start eating. So we want to start our story off with Pact. So what is Pact? To really get into Pact, we have to first talk about Ethereum's smart contract language, which is Solidity. Now, Solidity itself lacks several critical features that Kadena really thinks are really important, such as modeling, business rules, and authorizing users, for example. So these are day-to-day operations that are really needed when it comes to running businesses, right? And what is great about Pact is that it basically fixes these holes that are found in Solidity. So all of these features are already built into the framework of Pact's language, and that helps it avoid bugs and exploits, because the developers don't have to think about that. If they have to think about it, then many different developers will build it their own way, which is not a foundation at all, right? So what Pact really give is a framework. Pact is also an interpretive language, which means that it is both readable by both humans and computers. So what's great about it is, if you go to Ethereum and try to read Solidity code, chances are if you're non-technical, if you're a lawyer or something, you wouldn't understand it, right? But when it comes to Pact, the difference is if a non-technical person such as an executive or a lawyer reads that code, they will be able to understand it, which means that they can help check the logic behind the code that was written. In addition to that, when it came to Ethereum, if you found buggy code, the only way to fix that buggy code was to actually overwrite it. Because in Ethereum, the code is basically immutable, right? So you can't just go into an editor, edit it. You actually have to make a new contract. And this can lead to a hard fork in addition to bugs and exploits. Now, in Pact, that is not the case anymore. Apparently, they allow you to edit code and not have to deploy another contract. As long as the stakeholders are okay with the upgrade, then there are no problems with just doing the upgrade. There's no need for such thing like a hard fork. So another thing we have to think about is, how do we get off-chain data on-chain, right? Because there's a lot of things that are happening right now in the real world that is just independent of the blockchain. And that is where Chainlink comes in, right? And the thing is, you know, when we are looking at the prices of Ethereum, of Litecoin, on something like Coinbase, and then looking at it on Uniswap, how do you think they get those prices across all these different platforms? They have to go off-chain and then go back on-chain. That is where oracles come in. And Chainlink is pretty much the leader of what we call these oracles. Now, the great thing about Pact and Kadena is that apparently their oracles are built in. Whereas if you're working with Ethereum, you would actually have to integrate with Chainlink. So not only does the developer need to learn how to code for Ethereum, they also need to learn how Chainlink works. So they can integrate Chainlink into maybe the app that they're building that also utilizes the Ethereum blockchain. But with Kadena, doesn't need to do that. The programmer can just work within the Kadena ecosystem. The oracle, the language is all provided by Kadena. So at the start of this video, I said that Kadena is kind of like Agent Smith or Naruto doing the Kagebunshi-no-Jutsu, because it has kind of a split or multiple parallels, multiple clones of Bitcoin. And that is what they call the chain web. One of the things when I first learned about Bitcoin was that this thing can never be used for transactions. Well, there is the Lightning Network, but when you compare it to all the innovations that are coming out, there's just other things, other innovations that could potentially be better for payments and transactions than Bitcoin. But what Bitcoin is good at is being a store of value, right? Because you can just treat it like gold and it's a good hedge against inflation. So that's how you should see it, because the transaction per second that Bitcoin does is 7. Is that a lot of transactions? When we have millions of people around the world doing transactions every single second, does that work for us? No, it doesn't. 7 transactions per second does not work. But the similarities between Bitcoin and Kadena is that they're both proof of work systems, which means that they both have miners. The only difference is that Kadena can run with 10,000 transactions per second compared to Bitcoin's 7 transactions per second. And they accomplished this by running parallel chains rather than just one blockchain like Bitcoin does. Rather than just one agent Smith, there are hundreds and thousands of agent Smith that can exist at the same time doing the same work, which enables the speed of doing so many transactions per second. And this web of chains also makes it difficult for attackers to attack Kadena, to attack their blockchain, because there's just so many things going on. And these chains in Chainweb can be specialized for specific niches such as file storage or hosting. So developers, whenever they're developing their app, they can go on a specific chain that is optimized for what they want to do. So the question that you want answered really is, do you think that this will succeed? Well, it really is based on adoption, because think about it this way. What does Ethereum and Bitcoin have that all the other coins don't? They have first movers advantage. Bitcoin in terms of first movers advantage of replacing gold, and Ethereum in first movers advantage of having smart contracts. First movers advantage is always important, because think about it this way. Your iPhone or the Macs, they were basically the best innovation when they were released, right? And did you really go away from having an iPad or an iPhone after you bought your first one? No, you didn't. They had first movers advantage, and that is what Bitcoin and Ethereum has. Could there be better tablets, better phones than iPad and iPhone? Absolutely. But why do people stick with it? Because of habit. And Kadena can be much better and more efficient than Bitcoin, but it doesn't prove the fact that people are more comfortable, they're more knowledgeable, they're more comfortable with Bitcoin, more comfortable with Ethereum, which is why they won't switch, because they have to relearn something new. It's like if you're in a relationship, right? Would you go ahead and try to get a new woman every single night? Well, some people would do that, but most of us wouldn't, because with the old one, you don't have to put on pants. You can just walk around the house in your underwear. But if you have a new one, then you have to dress up. I mean, that's a lot of work, so no thanks. So Kadena has a max supply of 1 billion, and we're gonna talk more about the tokenomics later. But you can really get this from Binance, KuCoin, and Gate.io. I would not go with Gate.io. I used it once and I had the worst experience. I don't know if you guys use Gate.io. If you do, let me know in the comments below. Because every time you use Gate.io, they actually have you put in like a withdrawal password. In my short rant with Gate.io, I can deal with two-factor authentication, but having a rotating password that I have to go hang around monkey bars and go through loops in order to get my money out, yeah, no thanks. So stay away from Gate.io if you can. But other than that, let's get back on the topic of how this is like Polygon, because Kadena really draws a lot of inspiration from Bitcoin, except they say that it is more secure than Bitcoin, because if you watch the video trailer for Kadena, they show the use of graph theory and they show how the use of mathematics makes it harder for attackers to attack Kadena than it is for them to attack Bitcoin. And it is designed mainly for the financial system, so it is made so that it can scale to potentially support more than 9 million transactions per day that is made, for example, on the New York Stock Exchange. So the tokenomics for Kadena is awesome, and what KDA is used for is much the same way that Ethereum uses ETH, right? To pay for compute services. And like I said before, the token is maxed out at 1 billion, and how they distributed this is that 700 million would go to miners. This total token supply is going to be mined over 120 years, and the investors really only get 7%. The platform gets 20%. That's going to be in reserves, and it also has a vesting period, and contributors get 3%. So if you watch any of my previous videos, you know how highly I think of projects that give so much away to their community, because it really shows that they're here for the community. It's like you have a box of cookies and they would give you pretty much the entire cookie tray. If it was me, you never do a deal with Chinese people, because I'll give you, you think I'll give you one cookie. Actually, I'll just give you maybe like a quarter, because this is a bigger cookie, you know. Actually, maybe just this much. Make sure to smash the like and subscribe button, by the way. So here are my thoughts on KDA. Just know that this project is very, very new. I think they started January of 2020. So they're a very new project. But you know what? The tokenomics are great. And I like the concept behind it because it's like Bitcoin just did a Kagebunshi-no-Jutsu or a shadow clone jitsu to make multiple copies of itself. Now I need to remind you that I'm not an expert at Kadena, and my research goes as far as reading the white paper and the documentation to get a fair understanding of what Kadena KDA is. Mind you, their white paper was one of the easier white papers that I've ever read, and what I like about it is it's a proof of work coin. So apparently you can set up miners in order to mine the coin. You don't have to actually spend money, go on exchanges to buy the coin. And I really like mining networks. So I'm mining helium right now as we speak. And that to me is just passive income. Right now for Kadena is just a game of adoption. So you just have to be patient. If it gets adopted, then you'll be rewarded handsomely. But look at Kadena's all-time high. Right now it's selling at $2.59. Its all-time high is $27.64. Do I think it can go back to the all-time high? Definitely, because right now we are actually in a very bearish market, and you can see that Kadena has actually went through a full market cycle. You know, back here when it broke off, it was around 190, 180, $2, and now it's back at that same price again. So do I think it can go back to its all-time high again? Definitely. Again, right now is a very good time to buy because there's just so much fear in the market. I mean, like Bitcoin's been hanging around the 20-30K zone for like ever right now. All that said, with all the confidence that I have today, I gotta say that you should really do your own research and due diligence because I'm just a YouTuber. I'm not a financial advisor. So make sure you go ahead, take this as a starting point to do more due diligence and research on Kadena if you're looking to buy more Kadena. That said, if you thought this video was fun and you liked the format that I did in today's video versus the other videos, then make sure to smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, check out the other videos on cryptocurrencies and passive income. And remember guys, continue working, continue building, continue inspiring. See you next time.